What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Thursday night, just before I get officially married. I'm so excited. So I'm making this video so it can go through the entire next day. And I think it's a very important video because yesterday you saw me talking about Jordan Jozak. And he did say that he was going to be dropping more things in the future. And just took him a day or so because he dropped something really interesting that I want to show you guys. It's a slideshow that we're going to go through entirely. It's about the history of psychic phenomena in the government of the United States and some of the comparisons with other governments as well, the important names that are part of the entire history of parapsychology within the government in the US. And you're going to see a lot of names there that are very interesting and that um, we have to mention these. Just let me know what you think. I'm going to just go through the entire thing. This is the slideshow. It's a bunch of slides, actually. We're going through everything. It starts with slideshow number 1, Teleportation, Mind, and Intelligence. U.S. Air Force Future Technology Branch, Future Concepts, and Transformation Division Workshop, Mitre Corp, McLean, Virginia, October 21st, 2005. Eric W. Davis, PhD. We start with the historical love affair, military intelligence and human psychic potentials, ancient beginnings, tribal shamans, mystics, gurus, oracles, schools of ancient or sacred knowledge, mystery schools, martial arts, specialized warrior training, epochs in government, psychics, quote unquote, pre classic era, China, Egypt, Sumeria, Asia Minor, etc., classic era, Greece, Rome, sketchy post classic era, Dark Age and medieval era, Soviet Russia, suppressed, later resurrected during the Cold War, Nazi Germany, largely exploratory, research stolen by Soviets, USA, Cold War, exploration and exploitation. Why human psychic potentials are important to the intelligence community. The first one is intelligence collection and analysis requirements. Mandate is to seek out of the box solutions for acquiring and analyzing information via unconventional means or channels. Then there's the espionage, counterintelligence, and military applications, something they call mind warfare, information warfare, covert concealment and deception, psychological operations, which you guys are very familiar with, perception management, deny and deceive the enemy using unconventional means. History of U.S. military intelligence and human psychic potentials. Pre-Cold War era history uncertain. Jack Parsons is the first big name, co-founder of Jet Propulsion Laboratory in the 1930s, follower of Edward Alexander, aka Aleister Crowley. JPL did rocket and missile R&D for Army Air Corps during World War II. And then HK, Andrea Puharich, MD, started it all. He's the father of parapsychology in the United States, in my opinion. The first project he did was the Project Penguin in 1948. U.S. Navy Psi Research project head Rexford Daniels studied effects of EM waves on humans. This is something that Greenberg did many decades later. Initiated first U.S. military intelligence R&D programs on Psi, PK, and mind control during military service at the Army Chemical and Biological Warfare Center in Fort Detrick, MD, between the 40s and the 50s. We stay on Puharich. He had interest in clairvoyance and PK, dabbled in theories for electronically and pharmaceutically enhancing and synthesizing psychic abilities, took part in a variety of parapsychology experiments while in the Army, lectured Army, Air Force, and Navy groups on possibilities of mind warfare, was a recognized expert in hypnotism and microelectronics. In the 1970s, he worked with Uri Geller, Huba Spectra, became convinced by the 1970s of the existence of some kind of intelligent force in the universe that operated through EM frequencies and that humans can mentally interact with it. In the 1950s, the Office of Naval Intelligence was born and CIA's MPIC. Subject of interest, Mrs. Frances Swan, channeler via automatic writing for entity calling itself AFA from planet Uranus. This is wild. Next door neighbor, Rear Admiral H.B. Knowles, served on NICAP interest in UFOs, becomes supporter and mediator with ONI. Numerous ONI officers and scientists visit Mrs. Swan and communicate with Alpha through her. Commander Larson, naval liaison officer between ONI and MPIC, working with Art Lundell, assistant director for photographic intelligence, is touched by Mrs. Swan, can now do automatic writing to communicate with Alpha, this entity. At 2 p.m. on July 6, 1959, at secret HQ of CIA's MPIC in Washington, D.C., Art Lundell, a Navy photo analyst assigned to CIA Lieutenant Commander Nia Sham, direct Larson to contact Alpha while in Lundell's office. At Larson's request, Alpha spacecraft, bright saucer-like UFO, appears nearby outside Lundell's office window, flies by window and over Washington, D.C., detected by military and civilian radar centers. Air Force Project Blue Book Director Major Bob Friend, later brought to Lundell's office for Alpha demonstration, writes report to Commander of Air Force Technical Intelligence Center. Relationship between Mrs. Swan and ONI continues off and on until 1979. In the 1940s through the 70s, CIA mind control projects Bluebird, Artichoke, MK Ultra, MK Delta, Operation PK, etc., led by Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, head of the Chemical Division of Technical Services Staff of the Deputy Directorate for Plants. In 1972, this is where Stargate comes in. Harold E. Puthoff, Russell Targ, Ed May, Ingo Swann et al. Begin remote viewing program under sponsorship of CIA's Dr. Cindy Gottlieb. Existed under various code names. Program transferred to United States Air Force, DIA, Army, INSCOM, and back to CIA during its 22-year operation. Stanford Research Institute, SAIC, Mission Research Group, and many others were DoD contractors/subcontractors. RD on PK and clairvoyance, Uri Geller, Ingo Swann, etc. Puthoff and Swann developed testing and training protocols, established concept as a laboratory science, operational psychic espionage unit established at NSA. In 1994, CIA ends the remote viewing program, declassified by President Bill Clinton in 1995. Program ended, sort of, due to complex combination of personnel turnover due to transfers, DIA champion, DDST and T. Jack Verona, replaced by unsupportive successor. Hal Puthoff left SRI in 1985. Ed May, Puthoff's replacement, diverged from sponsors' interests. Quality of recruited psychics declined. Program allegedly downsized and shifted into another level of the Black Program's pyramid. Rumored to be doing minor drug enforcement and counterterrorism work. So allegedly the remote viewing program still exists. Main threats identified by DoD during Cold War were Soviet Union, Warsaw Pact, and China. U.S. military intelligence establishment concerned with possibility that Soviet Warsaw Pact allies were conducting psychotronics and mind control R&D in order to discover how to exploit and control powerful phenomena that could be used against the U.S. and its allies. Soviets had been researching methods of influencing human behavior for over 60 years. Soviets and their allies extensively explored and influenced technology that they called controlled offensive behavior, which is defined as the research on human vulnerability as it applies to methods of influencing or altering human behavior. Revolutionary techniques studied to influence humans' behavior: sound, light, color, odors, sensory deprivation, sleep, electromagnetic fields, biochemicals, autosuggestion, and hypnosis. Included parapsychology phenomena, psychokinesis, telekinesis, extrasensory perception, astral projection, clairvoyance, precognition, dream state, etc. I would add manifestation and telepathy with animals and other beings, but that's just me. Psychotronics, general term used by former Soviet Union Warsaw Pact countries to categorize psychic phenomena undergoing scientific research. Bioenergetics is phenomena associated with production of objectively detectable effects such as psychokinesis, telekinesis, levitation, effects, transformations of energy, i.e., the altering of affecting of matter. Bioinformation is a phenomenon associated with obtaining info through means other than normal sensory channels, such as telepathy, precognition, clairvoyance, i.e., using the mind to tap into the thoughts of others or to acquire present or future information about objective events in the world. Psychotronic phenomena involve using the mind and or some field of the body to affect other minds and inanimate objects, irrespectively of intervening distance or elapsed time, and without engaging any conventional tools. Bioenergetics and bioinformation are two classifications forming a single branch of science the Soviets called biocommunications. Biocommunication research is primarily concerned with exploring the existence of a definite group of natural phenomena controlled by laws that are not based on any known energetic influence. Types of biocommunication, aka psychotronics, phenomena includes special sensory biophysical activities, brain and mind control, telepathic communications or bioinformation transceiving, bioluminescent and bioenergetic emissions, and the effects of altered states of consciousness in the human psyche. This includes, obviously, psychedelic substances. Psychotronics provides capabilities that have obvious intelligence applications. Soviets and their Warsaw Pact allies invested millions of dollars in psychotronics R&D because they understood this and saw the potential payoff for military and intelligence applications. U.S. response to Soviet psychotronics R&D programs was the remote viewing program. U.S. Army began the JEDI project in 1983, which sought to increase human potential using teachable models of behavioral physical excellence by unconventional means. JEDI project was a human performance modeling experiment based on neurolinguistic programming (NLP) skills, whereby advanced influence technologies to model excellence in human performance was used. This reminds me of The Men Who Stare at Goats. Do you guys remember that movie? They also call themselves Jedis in the film. So maybe that's where this came from. That's interesting. Program ran under the auspices of Army INSCOM and the Organizational Effectiveness School, sponsored by a U.S. government and interagency task force. Program successfully trained several hundred people, including members of Congress, such as Al Gore and Tom Downey. Whoa. Before being terminated. Aspects of JEDI transferred to Los Alamos National Lab, NATO, and DoD contractors upon retirement of program officers and senior military commanders, some of whom formed private companies. Scitech, BDM, subsidiary of Ford Aerospace, and other corporate defense contractors did R&D. In 1981 and 1990, Chinese PK teleportation research published in Chinese scientific peer-reviewed journals became subject to DIA intelligence analysis conducted by PRC Aerospace Medicine Engineering Institute in Beijing and another PRC scientific organization. Use of gifted children and young adults to teleport, animate, and inanimate objects, including radio microtransmitters, from one sealed container to another located at a remote distance. Containers were subjected to extreme anti fraud measures, blind and double blind experiments, events recorded by radio receivers, high speed photography and videography, witnessed, reviewed, and audited by various PRC colleagues and medical research institutes, and also representatives from PRC National Defense Science Commission. Chinese investigators unable to explain phenomenon. Intervening Chinese research on PK teleportation largely a mystery. Motivation for research unknown. Present status unknown. Death of US intelligence in this topic. In 1990s, Esper Laboratories, Sony Corp, Tokyo, Japan, under director of Dr. Joichiro Sako, founded and supported by Sony co-founder Masaru Ibuka, conducted numerous experiments on bioenergy and psi, or Ki. Documentation and peer review publications exist. Program canceled after 8 years. 1990s present, Mind Matter Unification Project, Cavendish Laboratory, Cambridge University, England, under direction of Nobel Prize winning physicist Brian Josephson. Web based psi experiments. And then schools of ancient and sacred knowledge, the mystery schools and societies still globally abound. This goes into the esoteric side of things, I think. In the 1990s until the present, numerous efforts by privately funded think tanks, Microsoft co founder Paul Allen, Interlaw Research Corp., Palo Alto, California, now reorganized, no longer doing psi research. Las Vegas billionaire Bob Bigelow, who is Dr. Eric Davis's former boss, Dean Radin at UNLV Department of Engineering, Consciousness Research Divisions, NITS, Charles Tart, Raymond Moody, Bigelow Chair of Consciousness Studies at UNLV Department of Psychology, all now defunct. Monroe Institute, Faber, Virginia, Dean Radin and Dick Shoup, formerly Interval Risk Corp., Boundary Institute, Saratoga, California. The Institute of Noetic Sciences by Ed Mitchell, Apollo 14 in Petaluma, California. Robert John and Brenda Dunn, Peer Lab, Princeton University, New Jersey. Recent DoD War College study, rumored special access program within the DoD. From 2002 to 2003, AFRL contract study, Davis EW, teleportation psychic study, physics study, teleportation physics study, final report, Air Force Research Laboratory, Air Force Materiel Command, Edwards Air Force Base, California. Teleportation physics study divided into 4 phases. Phase 1, review and documentation of quantum teleportation, its theoretical basis, technological development, and its potential application. Phase 2, develop textbook description of teleportation as it occurs in classical physics, explored its theoretical and experimental status, and projected its potential applications. Phase 3, search for teleportation phenomena occurring naturally under laboratory conditions that can be assembled into a model describing the conditions required to accomplish the disembodied conveyance of objects. Phase 4, final report. Teleportation in sci fi is a disembodied transport of persons or inanimate objects across space by advanced futuristic technological means. Teleportation, the psychic term, is the conveyance of persons or inanimate objects by psychic means. Teleportation, engineering the vacuum or spacetime metric, the conveyance of persons or inanimate objects across space by altering the properties of the spacetime vacuum or by altering the spacetime metric geometry. Teleportation in terms of quantum entanglement, the disembodied transport of the quantum state of a system and its correlations across space to another system, where system refers to any single or collective particles of matter or energy such as baryons, protons, neutrons, leptons, electrons, photons, atoms, eons, etc. Teleportation exotic, the conveyance of persons or inanimate objects by transport through extra space dimensions of parallel universes. And then teleportation engineering, the vacuum of spacetime metric. This is how they explain it. Wormholes should act as shortcuts connecting distant regions of space-time. By going through a wormhole, it might be possible to travel between the two regions faster than a beam of light through normal space-time. This is how they explain it. Distance from Earth to Sirius, 54 trillion miles in conventional space. This is a study from Dr. Davis. Jordan shared this, but the slideshow was created by Dr. Eric Davis, according to this. So, why is somebody who worked on the government talking about quantum teleportation, wormholes, portals? Why is that? I wonder. Number of peer reviewed papers on teleportation by year. I did not know this either. If it's not real, why are they doing so many peer reviewed papers about it? Type of teleportation document in peer review from 1998 to 2004, reviewed literature. The number of articles, reviews, letter, news, editorial, book, distribution by nationality of 1,028 teleportation articles between 1995, 1999 and 2004. Look at China. What are they doing investigating so much scientifically about teleportation? Mexico is nowhere? No, yeah, they are. They wrote 8 between 1999 and 2004. United States is a little behind China. Where's Russia? Psi consciousness, quantum teleportation, what we know. Underlying the universe is a sub-quantum information domain. The vacuum is teeming with information. Information determines what manifests physically via Fisher information, how much info you can squeeze out of a physical system. Physical laws shown to be the difference between I, Fisher, info from observing the phenomenon, and J, amount of info bound up in the phenomenon being measured. Through the very act of observing, we're actually defining physics of the thing being measured, i.e., observer participancy gives rise to information, and information gives rise to physics. This is interesting because the synergic theory describes this as well, but that was created in the 80s. And I'm sure there are other theories that are very similar to that one, but this is very interesting how different scientists from different cultures are arriving to similar conclusions about this, about the double slit experiment, and about how humans have the potential to create reality through observation and interaction with reality. SQ, information is non local. Information and images can be robustly teleported. Instantaneous connection across any distance requires additional classical information for reliable transmission. Non-local entanglement common in nature, not just a low temperature or lab phenomenon. Non-maximal weak mix state entanglement. Weak entanglements everywhere in the universe. From the Big Bang, maybe? How might biological systems exploit SQ information? Might SQ information be integral to consciousness? What sort of information structures might exist in SQ information space? Qualia or thought forms? Spatiotemporal SQ information structures required to interact with matter, since matter is spatiotemporal. How might SQ information be probed? Through empirical data badly needed. Conjecture. Can biological systems entangle with the physical world? Can intent exploit quantum entanglement to transfer information? This would explain many anomalies, such as remote perception, psychokinesis, and telepathy. I agree. And what I would add is that this is entirely a biological process that humans have the capacity to hone and to exploit. But I believe that it has been suppressed for the longest time, millennia, even, I would say. And yes, I do believe that intent is very important, but I'm not saying just you have to believe. I'm saying that intent means that you don't just believe, but also put it to practice. Do everything in your power physically, mentally to get whatever goal you're aiming for. And that is an entire process. It's not just about, yeah, I believe, That's the way that I was taught this process by my mother and other people when I was younger. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of repetition. It does not happen overnight. And it does not happen with people who are extremely skeptical and don't even want to like put it to the test or practice. So that's why skeptical people and debunkers tend to never experience any of this, I believe. This is just my opinion. Might resonance effects allow projection of specific spatiotemporal SQ information structures, synchronizing spatiotemporal joint probability distributions in matter could cause many anomalies, such as synchronicities in nature, psychokinesis, thought projection, telepathy. No energy transfer needed. And then the final slide, it says future work, subquantum information, intent, entanglement of biological system. Quantum information theories, entanglement and decoherence, quantum holography, entanglement in biological systems, REG experiments, and Jungian synchronicity probe. So this was written by Dr. Eric Davis, and this was shared by Jordan Jozak. He had it in him, and it explains a good chunk, or I would say the majority of the history of psi phenomena in the world, not just in the US. And this begs the question, if Eric Davis knew all of this and has been studying all of this for a while as a physicist, I just wonder if people like him know what happened to Dr. Greenberg. And I'm just going to keep asking, see if they know anything. But for now, let me know what you think in the comments about the entire slideshow, about the alleged history of psychic phenomena that Dr. Eric Davis compiled here. And what do you think about Jordan's participation that is very recent and surprising? Let me know in the comments. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help us, and it is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated. So thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive like Dr. Eric Davis. Always. Bye.